So this year, states across the Midwest and South have been busy passing laws to restrict access to abortions. But in the state of Illinois, lawmakers are doing just the opposite.
Lawmakers in Springfield passed the Reproductive Health Act to make the procedure a fundamental right. The state's Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker said the protections in the law made the state a, quote, national leader in protecting women's rights. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News reporter Kate Smith. She's joining us from Chicago. So help our viewers understand this, Kate. Put it in perspective and context. What kind of law does Illinois have in place regarding abortion?
Good morning, Anne-Marie and Vlad. It's hard to overstate how different what's going on in Illinois regarding abortion laws is compared to all of these other states across the South and Midwest. Earlier this spring, we saw many states go to pass abortion bans, laws that restrict access to the procedure, but Illinois went the exact opposite way. What they passed is the Reproductive Health Act. Now, that's a series of laws that repeals a lot of their anti-abortion legislation from prior to Roe v. Wade that criminalizes the procedure and things like that. But then it also goes a step further and also expands access to the procedure, past, the second and third trimester of a woman's pregnancy.
So, Kate, you were actually allowed into Right to Life's offices and you attended one of their meetings. I imagine that they expressed some serious concerns about the laws in Illinois. What is their biggest concern?
So that's right. We were able to go into the offices of Illinois Right to Life, and that is the largest anti-abortion activist group in the entire country. They're affiliated here in the state. And what they did last night is they kicked off a series of, fireside grassroots campaigns to try to fight against this law. They say that this law has made Illinois the abortion capital of the Midwest. And, earlier this week, we saw an Associated Press report that said that over 16% of abortions that happen in this state are actually from women that are coming from other states where abortion is more restricted. So what we saw at that meeting was, this really grassroots effort of anti-abortion activists trying to see what they can do about this law and ultimately repeal it.
So what does Right to Life's initiative against Illinois' pro-abortion rights laws hope to accomplish, Kate?
That's a great question. I think what they're looking to do right now is just overhaul what they can of the state legislature. They were, last night they were very upset that state legislators passed this law. They say it doesn't represent the people in the state who are largely, they say, anti-abortion, conservative, religious. And so they actually put together this book, and I have it here with me right now. And it's, it is a big book full of very technical information about all of the state's laws and all of the legislators. So they are really having a laser focus on this law, seeing what they can do to, get rid of some of the legislators that voted for it that they believe, represent conservative Christian areas, and then also start picking away at the law and seeing what they can do to get rid of certain pieces of it.
I mean, what's the argument from the lawmakers who are in favor of these laws?
That's a great question. I mean, when this came out, this was widely lauded by the, pro-abortion access groups like Planned Parenthood, ACLU, and Illinois wasn't the only state to pass a law like this. In January, New York state legislator they passed a very similar law. This is the same name, Reproductive Health Act. And again, what this did was getting rid of those pre-Roe v. Wade laws that criminalized the procedure, and very antiquated laws. In Illinois here, there was a law that said that women had to get written express permission from their husband to be able to obtain an abortion. Of course, that's no longer the case now with Illinois' law. But, that is an interesting point to make, is that, this is a very murky issue. There are people on both sides of this issue that feel equally passionate about, making access to abortion easier, or on the other side, making it more difficult.
One of Illinois' neighboring states, as you know, Kate, Missouri, has been attempting to pass some sweeping anti-abortion legislations. You've been reporting on that for quite some time. You also spoke to Mary Kate Nour, Illinois' Right to Life Executive Director, about the impact that has had on Illinois. Let's play some of that.
In a certain sense, we are in a really special situation that all of these other states are passing all this pro-life legislation, and all of these women are coming who feel like they need an abortion are coming here. We're a pocket, and we want to shut that down. And what the influence will be 10 times over if we're able to do that, as opposed to Alabama or some of these other states that are already very pro-life, already have a lot of restrictive abortion laws, which that's great, that's wonderful, we love that.
So, Kate, tell us more about this stark contrast in how it plays out between the states for people who live near the border of two states, for example, around St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the most interesting things. In the Midwest, you've kind of created this patchwork of different legislations around abortion. And, you know, in particular, the Missouri-Illinois state line has become this battlefield in the front line of, you know, the national debate on abortion. On one side, Missouri, you have some of the country's most restrictive anti-abortion laws. There's a 72-hour waiting period. You're not allowed to get a medical abortion. You know, the same physician who receives your first appointment has to do the actual procedure. In addition to a lot of other very technical, fine print type laws against abortion. The exact opposite happens in Illinois, which is why so many people cross the border to go seek the procedure in the other state. I mean, I was in a Planned Parenthood on the border in Illinois just a few weeks ago, and I was talking to the administrator. She told me that every single patient she saw that day was from Missouri. There's another clinic called the Hope Clinic that's, you know, just about 10 miles north of that clinic, again, right on the border. They say about 55% of their patients are from Missouri. And what they both told me was that the share of these patients has increased since Missouri has tightened their abortion laws and made it so much more difficult for women to seek abortion in the state. What happens is you have so many more women seeking abortion in Illinois. So for people like Mary Kate, not only did Illinois not pass, you know, a heartbeat ban, you know, restrictions on the procedure, they went the entire other direction and made it what she calls the abortion capital of the Midwest.
And let me ask you about North Dakota. And I'm a little confused even sort of reading this information. I want to ask you about a recent ruling in North Dakota against a law that would require physicians to tell their patients abortions could be reversed. Explain that.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting law, and one that's actually having a little bit more traction in that anti-abortion world. So what this is that there is, you know, a small study was conducted 2 years ago that says potentially medication abortion can be reversed. Now, medication abortion is an abortion that you would do via pill, so it's much easier than a surgical abortion. And their idea is that, you know, there's two pills, the one that you take at the doctor's office and one that you take at home. Now, their study says that if you don't take the one at home, maybe the abortion can be reversed. However, there hasn't been a study that the American Medical Association or ACOG, which is of course the professional association for, you know, gynecologists and obstetricians, has said actually stands up to what they consider scientific fact. And so in North Dakota, what happened was state lawmakers passed a law that said that physicians would have to tell their patients that you can reverse the effects of a medication abortion. Now, what happened, what we saw earlier this week, was that a judge said that is unconstitutional. That is not only goes against some of the, you know, national federal abortion laws that we have in this country about women's access to the procedure, but it also violates physicians, you know, First Amendment right about what they have to say and don't have to say to patients. And so what we saw on Monday was that they put in a preliminary injunction for that law, so physicians will no longer have to say that. But what's interesting to note is that there were 5 other states that passed the exact same law this year, and this is the only one where you've seen a preliminary injunction be granted.
Man, I don't know how you can pass a law if it isn't medically and scientifically sound or accurate.
I guess you can pass the law, but it's going to be challenged.
Right, I guess you can pass any law, but all right.
Kate, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Thank you.